If you notice, I completely removed pin 4. Now typically, like I said, you are supposed to actually solder this to ground. If this does happen and you completely destroy the top of the leg like I just did, you'll actually have to take a sanding tool or some kind of file, etch into the chip, and then solder onto the leg to repair this. So let's pray to God that this fucking works. Alright, I'm going to go and just loosely put the NES back together. I'm not going to put any of the screws in, just in case I screwed up completely on international IPTV. And we'll go ahead and see if this works. Before I end the segment, I've got one more quick, really good tip for you. If you notice that this card connector has a lot of really nasty, grimy buildup and oxidization, you can actually use household everyday jewelry cleaner to turn the pin connectors and the pad connectors like this to looking more like this. If you notice, this has no oxidization, it's completely shiny, and it's completely redone. It's brought right back to life. Alright, so I'm going to zoom out and I'll just show you the basic process of how I did this. This is a fairly simple technique. This is open. Go get yourself a inexpensive canister of average household jewelry cleaner. I think this probably cost me about $3, but you can get really small ones for inexpensive. Read on the back, make sure that it actually will work with copper. If it doesn't work with copper, then you're going to have a problem. Make sure it doesn't eat copper, because if it eats copper, you're going to ruin this. So, what I've done is, I've actually taken a toothbrush, and I just went inside, and I sloshed a bunch of the cleaner around. Now, whenever you're doing this, don't do this towards yourself, because the bristles will flick, and most of the jewelry cleaners, no matter how inexpensive or pungent they are, if you get them in your eyes, they're going to burn like a son of a bitch. So always go side to side, because the bristles of the brush are going to flick jewelry cleaner all over the place. Also, working in an environment that you don't have a lot of things that you want to get stained, oftentimes I'll actually work inside my kitchen sink, and I'll put this all the way into the bottom of the kitchen sink, so all of the splashes around the inside of the sink that can easily be washed away. So, read the instructions to your jewelry cleaner, make sure that it can work with copper and it won't destroy copper, since the pads on this and on here are in fact copper. And read the instructions for safety warnings. Some of them are very pungent and should not be handled with bare hands. You might need gloves. This stuff is pretty safe. So all I did was take a regular everyday Q-tip for the cartridge connector. I dipped it in, and I just swabbed it around. And the instructions say to actually leave it for about 2 minutes. I done so, and then it says you have to rinse. Now, if you use a Q-tip, because such a toothbrush will not get inside the actual cart connector of an NES cart, you can just use a Q-tip to go in. And this will actually remove all of the dirt and the crap and the oxidization off of the pin header of the cartridge connector, as well as the actual NES game console. If you need to rinse, don't worry about it. I would not soak these overnight or anything like that. You can submerge in water and just flick it off and let it air dry. NES carts, on the other hand, go in with a cotton swab or something of the like, and then go in with a dry one, just to make sure that water doesn't actually leak in, and just really give it a thorough job. There's not much elbow grease involved, so just using average household jewelry cleaner, you can actually take all the tarnish and oxidization off all of the pins to the cart and connector. So hopefully with these tips and techniques, you'll be able to bring your NES and other games back to life. Alrighty, I've got the control deck and all the mechanics tightened down. Make sure you get the screws nice and tight. If this wobbles around any, it's going to cause any problems. The green line in my screen, ignore. This is not coming from the screen or the Nintendo. I have a really crappy power supply, so pretend it's not there. Now, before we actually even go into testing the games, Random asked me to give him some ideas on how to fix the controller ports on the NES. Now, his dick brother decided to go and huck the thing across the room, and it damaged both of the ports on the NES. By now, I should have posted some actual screen captures of the actual pinouts and where they go. I'll put some in the show notes as well. However, if your connectors are physically damaged, what you can do is, there are 2 screws underneath the NES, literally right under here. You can take this entire piece out and either buy a replacement, or you can get 9-pin serial port connectors called DB9 serial connectors. You can cut the back ass end of the connector off of the controller and solder in a nice DB9 connector. I'll put a screenshot up. And you can put the maiden connectors on a piece of plastic and then just kind of rework this. That way you can actually fix your controller ports. Also, the actual LED in the front is just a typical LED. If you want to go do any kind of modding to that, you can easily replace it. 3-volt LED or 3.3 volt, no big deal. Before you even put your actual NES together, you know, the NES is almost as old as I am. It would be a good idea to go ahead and
going in a 1 to 10 ratio of bleach to water, meaning for every 1 part bleach, 10 parts water. So 1 cup bleach, 10 parts water. Go ahead and soak all of the plastic. It'll clean it up really nice. If your parents come in and bitch on what the fuck you're doing in the bathroom and make a mess, tell them to shut your mouth, you're cleaning the tub. And in the process, all of your plastic stuff anyway. So that'll actually get the plastic looking like new. This is not applicable to the original SNES that turns piss yellow. Completely different reason. Won't work. I've tried. Alright, so I've got 2 games here. I've got Metroid, and I've got Super Mario Bros. 3. So when I first started this segment, I actually started the segment out where the actual control deck was ejected, meaning the CIC chip could not communicate to the cartridge, and it would reset. It would reset once every second. So when we turn this on, it should work first try. Works, well, besides the green line, works first try. So if I actually eject this, it should actually start to cycle on and off 1 Hertz as the process of the CIC chip. And if you notice, the LED isn't blinking on and off, which means the CIC chip is completely disabled. Now we'll try Metroid. First time, every time. If you actually want to go the extra mile, what you can actually do is take an alcohol swab and clean out all of the contacts and whatnot, but be really careful not to use anything that's corrosive because this is copper. You do not want to cause any kind of tarnishing or anything like that. So, I guess that pretty much covers everything. I hope I answered everyone's questions on how to actually revive your NES and get it restored to practically factory new. All of my consoles have been cleaned. All of my carts have been cleaned. CIC chips have been disabled. Regulators have been replaced if necessary. All of my decks and my cartridges work first time, every time. And that CIC chip, completely disabled. That's really weird how it's actually playing that. That's creepy. Anyway, hope everyone enjoyed the segment. I hope I actually answered all of your questions. If anything, as always, on the forums, hit the show notes. I'm on IRC. I'll be more than willing to help you guys out trying to get your NES back to life.